What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over my settings in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 4. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment something random down below. We're going to start off with the graphic settings because that is the first page, but I'm not the most knowledgeable about computers. This is just kind of copy and pasted from what most people do, or just kind of a standard baseline of putting everything on low to maximize performance. Obviously, full screen mode, resolution 1920 by 1080, VSync off, 240 FPS frame limit. I do play DX12 over performance mode. Again, I'm not too knowledgeable about PCs, but from my understanding, like, the parts in my PC are newer, or rather new. And so those newer parts are better able to take advantage of DX12. I have played on performance mode as well, and for whatever reason, I found a better, more consistent experience on DX12. But for a lot of people, performance mode is going to be the most stable version of the game. 100% brightness, colorblind mode off, motion blur off, and then the rest of this is pretty much going to be things on low or off. So anti-aliasing off, temporal super resolution, it's not on because I think it's dependent on this other setting. 3D resolution 100%, dynamic 3D resolution 100 or off, nanite off, shadows off, global illumination off, reflections off, view distance near. Some people do like to put this on slightly higher. This setting is kind of not intuitive. A lot of people would think view distance you want on maximum to be able to see people as far away as possible, but this doesn't actually have anything to do with seeing players. It's like mainly like seeing loot at far ranges. So very far away, there might be a weapon. I might see that there's like a glowing green thing, but I don't know what item it is. It's not the biggest deal to me personally. Textures I have on low, effects on low, post-processing low, hardware ray tracing off, show FPS on, use GPU crash debugging off, latency markers off, NVIDIA reflex low latency off, and then report performance stats disabled. Again, I care most about just making the game run as stable and as consistent as possible, and that's why a lot of this is off or low. I'm not playing Fortnite Battle Royale to like admire how nice the game looks. You know, some people out there might be, but I'm not one of them. And then also having a lot of things like shadows and things like that off do make it easier to locate enemy players. For sound settings, I actually typically use sound effects on like between 60 and 70%. I don't put it all the way. I don't know why. That's just always how I've preferred to do things. Like, I feel like having the game be super loud, people think does make it easier to hear footsteps, but at the same time, it makes everything else louder. Like, the skill in using sound to your advantage is picking out the sounds that matter amongst other sounds. For sound quality, I have on high. 3D headphones I have off. I don't know why I have this off, but I do. And I've used it like this for a long time, and I feel like my understanding of audio is pretty solid in this game, and I typically have a good understanding of where enemy players are. So I just, if it's one of those things, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Visualize sound effects on. This is a huge setting. I'd highly recommend putting this on. I really didn't use it for the longest because I thought it looked pretty ugly on screen, and to be honest, I think it's kind of not ideal that a setting that is there for hearing impaired players is just kind of used by everyone to be like a huge awareness buff to everybody, but it kind of is what it is. And if you're not using it, other people are. So putting this on will probably be beneficial to you. This is the setting that, like, if you ever watch someone's gameplay, there's like footsteps on screen or like gunshots on screen around their crosshair. That's what this is. Visualize sound effects. And then I don't think the rest of this matters at all. Toggle sprint I have on off. Auto open doors I have on. Mantle activation I have on hold jump. Hurdle activation, press jump. Combat, hold to swap pickup off. This makes it to where when you're over a weapon, you can like hold the pickup button to swap your current equipped weapon with the one that's on the ground that you're trying to pick up, but I don't really like that. Toggle targeting off. Mark danger when targeting off. Auto pickup weapons off. Preferred item slots, I just have shotgun, SMG, slot 1 and 2. The thing I care most about is getting to my shotgun as fast as possible, and on controller that's going to be slot 1, I do use a controller scroll wheel attachment, which will be linked down in the description below, and I have scroll wheel up to slot 1. But even if you're playing default, the act, it's like a build mode thing, the act of going from like pickaxe to builds back to weapons defaults you to slot 1, and that's something you're going to do a lot when taking walls, so that's why a lot of controller players put shotgun slot 1. And I rarely use SMGs recently, but I still want it to go to slot 2 in the event that I'm fighting off spawn. Like, I feel like this preferred item slots matters most off spawn, and so yeah, I just have these two. That way, if I do have a shotgun and SMG off spawn, they go into the right slots. Anything else, I don't really have a problem organizing it myself during the course of the game, and I don't really like having it do it on its own in ways that are grief to me. So, like, the only thing I care about is shotgun slot 1. Auto sort consumables I have to the right, on. Reset building choice on. Disable pre-edits on. This setting is kind of ideal to have off, because I think having it on adds some amount of input delay when building, but I just got used to having it on for a long time, and I don't even play builds that much anymore, so it is what it is. Turbo building on. Auto confirm edits I have on reset. I don't know if any of this other stuff matters. Energy saving mode you want off. I think that makes your gameplay run worse if you have that on. Tap to search interact you want on. This makes it where you just tap the button to open chests rather than hold it the entire time. Does any of this matter? I don't think any of this matters. Net debug stats is how you get your ping on screen. I have had people ask me how you get that to show at the top. It's net debug stats in the game UI section of settings. I don't use gyro. Don't use keyboard or mouse. Controller auto run. These are like the main controller settings that I assume people want to see. Controller auto run I have off. Build immediately. Builder pro I have on. Edit hold time as low as possible. Slide hold time I have on 0.08. This is a setting. I think it's 0.250 by default. This is a setting you want to make lower than default. It just makes your movement a lot more fluid and ideal. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, they say they can't slide and then use heals at the same time. Like, I will often jump into a slide while I'm drinking a heal, like a big pot, and a lot of people say they can't do that, and I think a lot of that has to do with the slide hold time. If you put it way too low, you're probably going to be sliding when you don't intend to, but definitely lower than default is ideal. For me, that ended up being 0.08. For other people, it might be a little higher, maybe a little lower, but I definitely would recommend reducing this because it makes it easier to slide, and that's something that's really beneficial to be able to do in fights. I've also had people tell me it's really hard for them to do the jetpack movement and land in a slide, and I wonder if part of that is like their slide hold time being too high. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, but it's possible. Vibration I would recommend turning off. Quick weapon I don't use, but I think it's a pretty good setting, especially for newer players. Build mode, build and edit since I have at 2 and 2.1. 40% vertical and horizontal. This probably looks low to a lot of you, but I do play on linear, and linear just makes your sense feel faster. So if you're an Expo player looking at this sense, it probably looks way too low, but Expo and linear just feel different. I have thought about switching to Expo recently though. Look, horizontal and vertical I put on 11. I think I had it slightly higher last season, but I turned it down a little bit this season because of the lack of aim assist. And that kind of helped me play a little bit better with like the striker burst ARs, limited aim assist. And then another thing that really helped me with that is going to be look dampening time. This makes it to where you get a lower sensitivity when you first start moving the stick, and that makes it a little bit easier for you to make those small adjustments, especially with, you know, the lack of aim assist on the striker burst AR. And that's kind of why I thought about switching to Expo. It doesn't seem like linear is that good anymore, or like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, I've played linear since it came out in like late 2019, early 2020. I don't remember when these settings kind of came out and started getting used. And a lot of time people would turn look dampening time completely off on linear. Playing linear with a little bit of look dampening time has made me better with the lack of aim assist weapons or the low aim assist weapons, but I still have considered switching to Expo because controller has just been getting nerfed and like getting worse over the years. The FNCS Global Championship is happening this weekend that I'm actually going to watch. Like, I'm recording this video in advance, and there's only 5 controller players that qualified, and I don't know everybody's settings, but I know at least 2 of those 5 are Expo, and so there may be even more. Like, it might be like 4 out of 5, I'm not too sure, but I think Reet and Teeny are both Expo players. And so I don't know. It seems like recently Expo has been better. I've thought about switching, but I just don't feel like getting used to it. I was going to switch, and then I ended up accidentally using linear with look dampening time. Like I meant to switch this and then just forgot to. And it ended up feeling good to me, so that's where I'm at now. But just with how Chapter 5 has been, and with how little aim assist a lot of the weapons have had, and going into Chapter 2 OG next season with a lot of the third-person bloom weapons, it seems like Expo kind of might be the play for controller. Left stick dead zone, I use 12%. Right stick dead zone, I use 10. This is just what I've used for a long time. I don't know why I like having a slightly higher left stick dead zone, but it's just what's felt good to me for a long time. As far as my keybinds go, I don't have anything too fancy because I play claw. Claw is when your index finger is on the A, X, B, Y buttons at all times, like this. And I've played like that since like 2008, 2009, I think. And that just kind of makes it easier to have ideal binds. One thing that's weird is I have sprint on left D-pad, but I do use a paddle for this. I have a paddled controller. I only use one paddle, and it is for sprint. And then everything else is mostly default, I think. I have right stick crouch. I don't know if that's default or not. Triangle edit, L2 confirm edit, scroll wheel down reset. I use the scroll wheel for that, like I said. Yeah, I don't think I have anything too special. I want to find the jetpack controls. I talked about this in the video I made about the jetpack, but I think if you want to do the dash with the jetpack, it is ideal to have your ascend button be the same as your jump, your boost button be the same as your sprint, and then your cancel hover be the same as your crouch. And so you would double tap your jump button, or well, for starters, I think it's ideal to hold your sprint button the entire time. Just I'm sprinting into this and I'm holding sprint as I'm doing it. That way it's automatically boosting the moment I activate the jetpack. So we're holding sprint, double tap ascend, double tap crouch. That way you cancel the jetpack and land on a slide. And so you're holding this button, tapping this one twice, and then tapping this one twice. And I think that's the ideal way, or like the easiest way to make the jetpack dash work. I think once you kind of have these ideal binds set up and kind of practice with it a little bit, I think it is pretty easy to manage. And then I don't think there's anything in the final page of the settings to really go over. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. I do use a custom aim controller. I use the Evolve Jake version. But you can now also customize the PS5 snap panels on the site if you want. So I have like this Dino Nugget controller I recently made. But my code is Evolve Jake. You can use it on the website if you do want to get a discount on their controllers. They have a lot of the same bells and whistles as pretty much every other custom controller company, like paddles on the back. Like I said, I only use one. But this is a button that you can activate on the back without taking your thumb off the analog stick, which is pretty nice. Trigger stops, or adjustable hair triggers, I think is what they call them. So like you push the trigger in barely and it activates. This is what it looks like without that on. You can turn it off, but this is what it looks like normally. And then with adjustable hair trigger, this is what it looks like. So it just makes it a little more sensitive. And then same with like all of the buttons, you can make them very like clicky and as sensitive as possible. Their website will be linked down in the description. And like I said, you can use code EvolveJake for a discount. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.